In 1908, two psychologists put mice inside a small box and gave them a choice between a black compartment and a white one. When the mice chose wrong, they received an electric shock. The researchers were not trying to be cruel for no reason, they were trying to understand learning, so they changed the strength of the shock. You would think the stronger shock would make the mice learn faster. More fear, more urgency, better memory. That sounds obvious. But that is not what happened. When the shock was too weak, the mice barely learned. When the shock was stronger, they improved. But when the shock became too strong, their performance collapsed. They did not become smarter, they became chaotic. They ran badly, they failed more. The same thing that helped them learn, when increased past a certain point, destroyed their ability to learn. That is moderation. And I know the word sounds boring. It sounds like something a teacher says when you're eating too much sugar, or something an old person says because they're tired of excitement. But that is not what I mean. Moderation is not weakness. It is not being average. It is not having no passion, ambition, anger, love, or intensity. What moderation is putting the right amount of the right thing in the right place at the right time. That one idea might be one of the most ignored solutions. Most things are not dangerous only because they exist. They become dangerous when they are misplaced, overused, underused, or allowed to rule everything else. Water is not evil, not at all. But too much water kills roots. Fire is not inherently evil, but uncontrolled fire becomes destruction. Stress is not evil because a little pressure can wake you up, but too much pressure turns your brain into alarms. And the uncomfortable part is that your life probably does not break because you have wrong desires. It breaks because you give the right desires the wrong amount of power. Take love. Love is beautiful, but when love becomes too much attachment, it stops feeling like love. It becomes pressure, obsession. It becomes emotional surveillance. You start needing replies, proof, reassurance, updates, attention. You call it care, but the other person feels trapped inside your fear of losing them. And then you wonder why they became distant. Now take honesty. Everyone says they respect honest people, but honesty without timing, wisdom, and softness becomes just another form of violence. Some people are not truthful. They are careless with facts. They say the most painful thing at the most useless time and then hide behind the sentence, "I'm just being real." No, you're not being real. You're being unmeasured. Truth needs the right dose too. Even kindness can become harmful. That sounds strange because kindness is supposed to be pure, but too much kindness without boundaries creates resentment. You say yes too often, you forgive too quickly, you keep giving people access while secretly hating them for taking it. Then one day you explode or implode, and everyone is confused because they thought you were fine, but you were not fine. You were just calling self-erasure patience. This applies to school, work, and success too. Too little pressure and you become lazy. Too much pressure and you become paralyzed. Too little ambition and you waste your gifts. Too much ambition and nothing you achieve ever feels enough. You pet the grade but hate your life. You build the business but lose your peace. You chase success until success starts looking like punishment. And it gets stranger when you look at systems. A city needs roads, but too many roads can destroy a walkable life. A country needs laws, but too many laws can suffocate the people they were meant to protect. A company needs meetings, but too many meetings become the reason no real work happens. A phone needs notifications, but too many notifications turns information into nervous system pollution. A medicine can heal at one dose and poison at another. A machine learning model can fail if its learning rate is too low because it learns almost nothing. But if it's too high, it overshoots the pattern. That is why this is not just a nice life lesson. It is everywhere. Biology, engineering, psychology, business, relationships, politics, health, creativity. Almost every stable thing is stable because something is controlled in the correct amount. Your body does this all day without asking your opinion. Temperature, blood, sugar, oxygen, hormones, hydration, sleep, hunger. Your body is fighting to keep you within ranges. Life itself is constantly negotiating proportion. But emotionally, we are terrible at this. We let one feeling take the throne. Fear starts making every decision. Anger starts writing every message. Desire starts choosing every habit. Pride starts controlling every apology. Sadness starts interpreting every situation. And once one emotion becomes king, everything else becomes its servant. That is when people become difficult to love. Not because they feel too much, but because one feeling has no limits. Their love has no limits. Their anger has no limits. Their insecurity has no limits. And a person with no inner limits eventually becomes exhausting. So maybe the question is not, what should I remove from my life? Maybe the better question is, what has taken more space than it deserves? Maybe you do not need to stop caring. You need to stop turning care into control. Maybe you do not need to stop working. You need to stop turning work into your whole identity. Maybe you do not need to stop being honest. You need to stop using honesty without mercy. Maybe you do not need to kill your ambition. You need to stop letting ambition humiliate every version of you that is still growing. Moderation is not the middle of everything. Sometimes the right amount is extreme effort. Sometimes the right amount is complete silence. Sometimes the right amount is walking away. Sometimes it is trying again. Moderation means the situation is not being ruled by ego, panic, addiction, laziness, or obsession. Most people are not destroyed by one bad thing. They are destroyed when one thing becomes too goddamn much. And maybe the whole art of living is learning how much of each part of yourself the movement actually deserves.